Hello everybody, this is Michael, Stephen, and Vargas. So, if you have watched a lot of games, chess games online, then there must be a term that you have encountered at some point. And of course, if you've seen the title of this video, I am talking about immortal games. Basically, there's what most people think of immortal games are just really good games, right? That are memorable, maybe, or that looks good, but really few actually tries to define it and its characteristics, giving some sort of description. So that's what this video is about, which is really the meaning of immortal game, what makes a game immortal, description, the characteristics, just so I can clarify this term for all of you chess fans out there and bring some clarity and also to help you identify an immortal game if it does appear in one of your games. Okay, so I want to establish first what makes or what usually makes a chess game immortal. A chess game becomes immortal usually when there's a beautiful sacrifice, an artistic combination that we do not usually see in chess games that are pretty much uncommon, or have like an artsy, like through the lack of word, artsy positional endgame or endgame of the ending of multiple sacrifices. This is because attacks are usually what's most memorable to most people, because positional mastery is beautiful only to those who are already engaged in the game. Why is that? It is because those that are already engaged are usually the only people that understand the deepness of a move, especially if it is quiet. Attacks are usually very visual. A lot of people can recognize it. Therefore, it is memorable. And I want to sideline here the actual primary definition of an immortal game is basically something that will be remembered for a long time. So, if I played a game and it will be remembered, let's say centuries from now, then it will be considered immortal because it surpasses human life, it surpasses the length of my life. The chess games still is being talked about even long when the creator of the game is already gay or dead, making it somewhat immortal. Thing with attacking games is since it appeals to a lot of beginners, it is much more likely to appeal to a lot of people. And if something appeals to a lot of people, it is much more likely to be popular, to be remembered. If it only appeals to small majority of professional and masters of chess, then it is less likely to be spread enough and to be remembered for a long time. Therefore, attacking games, even though sometimes they have mistakes, attacking games that sometimes have blunders and inaccuracies will still be considered immortal, just because the primary criteria is if it's something that can be remembered for a long time. And I think that immortal games really takes the beauty of chess to its maximum potential. So human life is limited. We will die at some point through unknown circumstances, and also we don't know the exact date, but we will die. However, the things that we left with us, such as maybe a chess game that is so beautiful to be recognized by a lot of people, will stay even when we are gone. So, immortal games are immortal because it just surpasses the normal human life. And again, I just want to debunk some of people's claims, because some would say that, oh, why is that game considered immortal even though it has a lot of mistakes? But you're not understanding something here. The reason why it is so beautiful and a lot of people remember it is because it contains a lot of mistakes. If the game is played perfectly, then it will end in a boorish, non-memorable draw, and nobody remembers a draw unless it itself has a lot of eventful occurrence that contains the same ingredient as an attacking game. So immortal games are not remembered because they are usually accurate games, but they are remembered because they are visually appealing, they are memorable, not necessarily that they are played perfectly. Even though immortal games usually contain a lot of mistakes, it just stands out from all other games out there that are similar to one another. Being up upon and winning through that, it's just not that memorable. If something is attacking, or there's a lot of attacks, tactics, right? Those are much more likely for people to remember because those are just beautiful. The term immortal game actually originated from the original Immortal game, which is a game played by Adolf Anderson and Lionel Klisinski. It is a game that is so beautiful that a lot of people still talk about it after Adolf Anderson is dead, and it has expanded its definition since then. It also set to include other like beautiful looking games, but the term itself comes from just a one game that has become evergreen to people's minds. I would say this though, immortal games are usually old games that have played so many years ago, usually decades ago. We just don't know if a game will be popular enough to be considered immortal if it is still new. Even if it contains a lot of sacrifices, attacks, it might be beautiful, but there's just that flavor that attracts virality, that attracts a lot of attention, and that is very hard to predict. So even though a lot of people call new games immortal games, we still really don't know if it will become immortal because we don't know if it will be popular enough to be remembered for a long time. So that is a restriction. An immortal game can be played by anyone, so there isn't any restriction. You can play an immortal game even if you are not a higher rated player. The context of the history, or which tournament is it played, or who played it, is independent from the actual beauty of the game. Although, if the one who played the particular beautiful game is a famous player, that game, yes, will be most likely be famous, but still, even you can play an immortal game if a lot of people gain enough, if the game attracted enough people to make it that popular. Maybe it is featured in a YouTube channel right now nowadays. So you might be the next one who will contribute to the ranks of immortal. I will also say this, although immortal games are usually those who had sacrifices because those are memorable, it doesn't necessarily need to have sacrifices as long as it is memorable. So for example, there is what we call a Sugswang Immortal. A Sugswang Immortal, Sugswang is basically when you force your opponent to make a move, even though a move or any move that the opponent will play will lead to a concession, and therefore the opponent will suffer consequences just the fact by that they will be playing a move. So that is beautiful, right? And some Sugswang will be remembered for a long time, even though there aren't necessarily crazy sacrifices. So the Sugswang Immortal just proves that you don't need sacrifices to have a memorable game that can be someday worthy of being called immortal. I think this term is pretty useful. Immortal is just really cool, right? I mean, if you can play something that is like beautiful, of sacrifices, you want to share it to your friends, it might become popular, and I say that it is useful because these are usually the games that will spark your interest in chess. So yes, they might not be accurate as other games out there, but they will really inspire you to keep on playing, which is for me much more important than viewing accurate games all the time, although that is also important if you want to improve. Maybe an immortal game here and there will just let you sit back, be entertained, and will actually push you forward to keep on improving. I mean, you can't improve if you're not playing, and this type of games will spark your motivation in really trying to improve. So I think this is important. So that is all. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, and that is all. Sleep well and play chess.